Hello Internet, it's Darkstrider the YouTube Assassin, and yesterday I put up a video and a lot of you were taken aback by the idea that only Cassandra's story is canon, and only certain aspects of Cassandra's story is canon. So let me explain to all those who haven't seen it. What's going on is that when you play Assassin's Creed Odyssey, everything that you do in the game is not really canon. What's going to happen is, as you play Alexios' story, nothing he does will be canon. Cassandra's story will be canon, but the choices that you make may not be canon. The only thing that's going to be canon in Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the present day with Layla Hassan. Everything that you do in the present day, that's canon. And that's also the only part of the game where you don't have dialogue options or anything like that. So what's going to happen is that, I guess, everything that you do as far as playing in the game, certain parts of the game will lead to unchangeable areas, and those unchangeable areas will actually be canon, because when Layla comes out of the Animus, she'll be like, oh, this is, like the Isu nose ring that, like they were talking about or whatever. It's all, those choices are already going to be predetermined for you. Everything to do with Layla Hassan is predetermined for you. So, in a lot of the discussion in the video yesterday, and I'll put it in the link below, or I'll put the link to in the description below for some of you to view it who haven't. It's kind of weird, like in order to actually find out what really happened, you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to buy the novel. And when you read the novel, that's when you're going to learn what was canon and what wasn't. So, that kind of opened up some debate. Some of the debate was, why should I have to go out and buy a novel in order to find out what really happened? In the next game, I do not think that it's going to affect the next game. So if we have, like, Assassin's Creed, let's say Destiny or something, all right? Assassin's Creed Destiny, when that comes out, it's going to pick up where Odyssey left off, and everything that Layla Hassan has experienced, everything that she has dealt with, is going to be canon and going into the next game. So when you get to the next game, you're already going to know the story. You're just not going to know all of the story that happened with, Cassandra. Which, still, it's like really weird how they would do that. At least it's not as bad as like Kingdom Hearts. If any of you have ever played Kingdom Hearts, it originally came out on the PlayStation 2. And what ended up happening was you played Kingdom Hearts. It was a fun game, or you hated it, whatever. If you were a fan of the game, you were dying for Kingdom Hearts 2 to come out. When Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, you had no idea what was going on. All of a sudden, you're seeing like some kind of quick recap, and Sora, Donald, and Goofy are in like some kind of snow globes. Like, how the heck did this happen? What you didn't know was that if you didn't own a Game Boy Advance and you didn't get the Chain of Memories game, you didn't know that Chain of Memories was actually the direct sequel to Kingdom Hearts. So that's just weird. In an event like that, it's problematic because, you're not knowing what's going on. And there are some problems in the Assassin's Creed universe that are like that. For instance, in the comics, Assassin's Creed has a comic book series. In the comic book series, Juno was killed. So how many of you who are playing the Assassin's Creed games are actually waiting for Juno to return? She's not coming back. We're not dealing with Juno anymore. She was killed by an assassin sect in the comics. Now, the games make no note of that, and you're just left to like wonder, why isn't Juno making an appearance? Honestly, the games should have made some kind of reference for you to like, understand, like, oh my God, like, this is why we're not finding Juno. She's already been killed or whatever. You know, it's just in certain aspects it's not right. Honestly, I have no problem with buying the novel. I'm just a big Assassin's Creed nerd. I have so much of like the swag, statues, special editions. I've got, hidden blades for days, all kinds of things like that. I'm a big fan of the series. I have the novels. I read the novels. Okay? I encourage people, especially if you're a student during the summer, make sure that, like you do at least some reading to broaden your vocabulary and just brush up on your skills. All right? But the thing is that if you're going to read a novel, read because you want to read. Don't read something, just because you have to do it. I know when you have to do things, it bores you. It makes you crazy. I have a bunch of like Star Wars novels. I have, Assassin's Creed novels. I have novels on things that, and even non-fiction books that interest me. And I read them. And I enjoy reading. And, like I say, I encourage everybody to pick up a book. Make sure it's something that you enjoy if you're not really a big fan of reading. Read something that you're into. Don't read something because somebody says read it. I have the Lord of the Rings, the trilogy. I have the Silmarillion by Tolkien. I have the Hobbit. Some things that he wrote that are unheard of, only because I enjoy reading. It's kind of like really crappy if you have to buy a novel or a comic book in order to find out what happened. In that instance, it's really not fair. And I know a lot of you would agree with that. Like, it's really not cool to actually have to go out and, make a purchase in order to find out what's canon. But the thing is, you have to understand and you have to realize that the game, the way that the game is going to play, you could play as Alexios, you could play as Cassandra. Those are your choices. The game is your way of playing. Okay? Everything else that is going to happen in the present day, that's all going to be canon, and that's kind of going to move the narrative and the story forward. That's how you're going to know what's going to happen in the next game when they make the next game. So don't feel that you have to buy the book. Don't feel you have to buy the novel. It's not that serious. When you get to the next game, you'll be able to make the assumptions, or you'll be able to understand what's going on. You'll be like, okay, this makes sense, because in the real world, in the present day, this is what happened. It's not like it is a marketing scheme, but it's not at the same time. The only thing I worry about is if enough people buy the books because they don't know what's going on in Odyssey, or because they want to stay faithful to canon, what's the next step? Are we going to see where they're going to make an Assassin's Creed movie, a sequel to this movie, which really didn't do well in the theaters, even though I enjoyed it? Honestly, I kind of enjoyed it. There were certain aspects where I was like, this is crap, but a lot of it I did enjoy. Now, that was my choice to watch it. You didn't have to watch it in order to understand what was going on in Origins. You did have to watch it to understand in Origins that there were certain things that were going on, like, for instance, that Layla ran into Sophia Ricken. That's a nice Easter egg, but you did not have to actually sit there and watch the movie in order to, give a hell about who Sophia Ricken was. Okay? She was the character in the movie who was in charge of the Madrid facility where Aguilar's ancestor was, or his descendant was, and everything that was going on there. If you watched the movie and you looked at Origins and you looked in Layla's files, you said, oh, this is a cool Easter egg. This is cool how they kind of incorporated the movie world with the game world. It wasn't necessary. I'm sure people who haven't watched the movie, who saw Sophia Ricken and her name and, her father died and everything, they were like, oh, okay. You know, some of you didn't even, go into the laptop. Some of you haven't even explored that. So does that even, is it canon? Yes, it's canon, but, it's an aspect that you did not need to know. So I'm hoping that in the next game, you don't really need the novel, that you could just play the game. Layla in the present day gives you, like the cliff notes as to what went on. And when you get to the next game, you know what's going on. You know basically the gist of the story and everything. And that's the right way to go. If they go with this thing where, they're going to make a sequel to the movie and you have to watch the movie in order to know what's going on in like one of the video games or something, that's going to be a pain. That's going to be hard. And I know some people already, just because the game gives you dialogue options and it deviated from the rest of, like the series and everything, some people aren't even going to play this game. And, to those people, I kind of want to, not advise that you do that. You might be upset with the game. You might be upset with the direction that they took. But Origins was a fantastic game, and it kind of deviated from what we went with originally. It gave you a lot of freedom. It made the game longer. It made the game more fun. They had a lot of extra events in it. So don't, like hurt yourself. Don't rob yourself of this kind of game. If you looked at the playthroughs, if you looked at like what was going on, it just looks beautiful. It looks absolutely amazing. Don't rip yourself off. Once we get to like the game, or even if you're a skeptic, once we get to the game, YouTubers like myself, we're going to play the game. We're going to let you see what's going on. We're going to give you our brutally honest opinion of the game. Yes, Assassin's Creed is one of my favorite series. Yes, a lot of my videos are based on Assassin's Creed. But you know what? I'm going to admit to you, there are certain Assassin's Creed games I haven't even touched. And it's not because, like I haven't played the game, or in some instances I have played the game. In some instances I didn't buy the game because I let other people dictate what was going on. So as I keep, like playing these games, and especially since I started my YouTube channel, the people that I speak to, the people that I converse with, a lot of you guys have different and varying opinions on certain games. A lot of you feel that one game might have sucked, but certain aspects were cool. And, these are things that I should experience for myself. So honestly, if you're a fan of the series, experience it for yourself before you let somebody else dictate to you what's actually going on. Give it a shot. Watch some videos, see if you like what you see, and then take it from there. If there's issues with the canon, if there's issues where like, you're really not feeling the canon and it's just too complicated for you and everything, maybe buy the game when it goes on sale. Maybe rent the game and, play it from there. See if you like it. But what's your opinion? What do you think of this whole canon thing? What do you think of the game going full RPG? Will you be buying the novel? How do you feel about buying the comic books and finding out that Juno died? Does that bother you? Do you really want to like go with a game where Juno's involved? When you have a comic book series, and comic books are different, when you have a comic book series, the point of the comic book is to sell comic books. So you really can't go and, do what the novels did and just make a comic adaptation of the series where everything that's happening in the series is happening the exact same way in the comic book. The comic book is more visual and you're actually living that as you're playing the game. Whereas a novel, it's only visual in your head because you have to imagine what the words are saying to you. So what do you think of all that? Let me know in the comments below. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel a lot. If you want to further support me, consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put a link to that in the description below. Again, I want to know what your comments are, what your feelings are on all this. How do you think we're going to continue with this series? Where do you think this series is going to go? And as always, thank you for watching.